Woohoo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9 The News and Talk Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's a daily show, Monday through Friday. We've got so much to get to this morning. I do want to ask you a question, though. 309-451-9299. You can text me or you can find me on YouTube, on Rumble. You can throw it in the comments section. What is the most annoying, woke platitude? So is it trust the experts? Is it um that one is the most annoying one to me. Is it trans women are women? They've got all kinds of them out there, right? They've got all these different like woke platitudes out there. Be your authentic self. What else? My truth, speak your truth. That's another woke platitude. I got to thinking about it yesterday, and they say, or no human is illegal. That's another one. There's just so many annoying ones out there. For me, the most annoying woke platitude or phrase that they use is trust the experts. That one really bothers me because in the same breath, they'll also attack excellence, like shame on you for being excellent. It's your white privilege, right? There's no such thing as talent and ability and work ethic. You're only in your position because of your skin color or because of your gender, you white cis male, or your sexual orientation, right? And what bothers me is they're like, trust the experts. I know that these experts aren't excellent and that they're not actually professionals because we're living in a world where we demonize excellence, and these experts just aren't excellent. So it's like completely it's a contradiction when they say trust the experts. They're not actually experts, though. Most likely they got into that position because of their race, gender, or sexual orientation. So we're going to talk about a few things. This story out of Illinois, which is really interesting. Appeals court is hearing this challenge now. Judicial Watch has taken up this Illinois teacher's case. She got fired for posting on Facebook during the summer. That's going to be an interesting story. So you're going to want to stick around for that. Solar plants popping up everywhere. And this one kind of hits home, close to home for me because there's this solar plant that's planned for 3,600 acres, okay, in Custer Park, Illinois. You guys know that I grew up in Custer Park, Illinois. My folks still live out there. And they're just popping up everywhere. And the Will County Board is just so frustrating when county board members are, well, how do I say this politely, when they don't have cojones, I guess. Right? I mean, for lack of a better term, they don't have any cojones. And they are like, oh, we're so scared of lawsuits. Do it. Okay, do it. Say no. And, if these companies come after you with lawsuits, okay, who cares? You spend our taxpayer money on all kinds of nonsense anyway. I'm sure the taxpayers are willing to fight these stupid companies like Acciona. And here's the thing, none of the electricity generated, which is probably going to be barely nothing from these solar plants, it's not going to the residents. It's not going to bring their bills down, their electric bills. All the electricity generated from these solar plants that are an eyesore, that are taking up precious farmland, precious resources for us to, I don't know, grow food and supply the world with food. That's our thing here in Illinois, is supplying the world with their food. And they're taking up all this precious farmland for these solar plants, but these solar plants aren't even going to provide us any kind of energy. It's all going to Amazon. Okay, they're working out a deal, Acciona, in Custer Park, this 3,600 acre solar plant. All of the energy generated from these solar panels, which isn't going to be really much of anything, it's just going to Amazon. So it really just screws over the community there. I do also want to talk about Joe Biden. He's telling Kamala Harris that you're not going anywhere, kid. So there's a speculation that she's going to run for California governor, and that she could possibly try again in 2028 for the presidency. So Joe Biden says, you're not done yet. You're going to stay in politics. You're not going anywhere. I think that's what he meant when he said you're not going anywhere, that you're going to be staying in politics. No, Joe, she's done. Let's get into this story. Janine Hedgepeth. Okay, so this is the Illinois teacher. The Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals, they heard oral arguments on Thursday last week. This is a huge story. I can't believe that I haven't heard of this before. I didn't hear about the initial lawsuit. I'm just now hearing about it because of the appeals. So there was an initial lawsuit. A lower court dismissed her case. The teacher here, she's seeking damages in this initial lawsuit because she was fired. Okay, so Janine Hedgepeth, she posted comments on Facebook criticizing the riots. I'm going to read a bit of the post. It was so mild, folks. It's ridiculous. She posted on Facebook criticizing the riots, the violence, and the shootings in Chicago in the aftermath of the killing. Let's call it that. I'll say it's the overdose of George Floyd in 2020. But she criticized the violence, the riots, and she offered a different perspective and point of view when it comes to race relations here in the United States. She's a teacher, and she was subsequently fired after her Facebook post from Township High School, District 211. So, federal civil rights lawsuit against the district and school officials was filed in 2021, alleging a violation of her First Amendment speech rights. Okay, so she filed a federal lawsuit. A lower judge threw it out. Now it's on appeal. An appellate judge questioned the school's attorney. Her name is Haley Goulds. On Thursday, he and the appellate judge, one of them, now there's a panel, right, of judges. He says, quote, "You're telling me that teachers can express some views outside as long as they express moderate opinions." Okay, as long as, because there was talk about, what she had posted. Is it extreme? And they were trying to make the argument that it was extreme and that she was like calling for violence and civil war and that she wasn't being considerate of other people's views, which is just so ridiculous. This woman posted on Facebook to her group of friends. I think it was like 800 friends or so. Now, the post did take off because all of her friends shared it on social media. So a lot of people did wind up seeing her post. But she didn't say anything crazy on there. There wasn't a whole lot of like extremist opinions, if you're asking me. We'll get to some of it, but the attorney here, the school's attorney, her name is Haley Goulds, like I said, she says, no, it has nothing to do with the moderation of the opinion. It has everything to do with the Pickering balancing test. Now, the Pickering balancing test, you guys can look it up. It's kind of well, I guess it's like a law, but the court held that there is no First Amendment protection for all government employees when they make statements in their official capacity, and that you do not have First Amendment. So that just goes to show you that the government doesn't have like First Amendment rights in their official capacity as a government employee or something like that. Okay, so she's a government employee because she works at a public school. All public school teachers are government employees. And here's the thing, though. It was on her personal Facebook page. Didn't say it to a bunch of students in a classroom. Nothing like that. Now, that definitely would not probably pick or pass the Pickering balancing test. There's a test. Did you say it in your official capacity as a government employee? She did not. She definitely said it on Facebook to a personal friend group. And it was during the summer. And it was during her summer vacation, okay? And then they launched an investigation into all of her Facebook posts, and then she was subsequently fired, okay? Now, she sought damages in this lawsuit. The lower court dismissed her case. Now she's appealing it, and it's before the appellate court now. So she said it has nothing to do with the moderation of the opinion. It has everything to do with the disruption that it caused in the school, and it has everything to do with whether or not, based on speech, the school has the belief that this individual can serve in that position. So the Judicial Watch, they're representing Miss Janine Hedgepeth, this teacher out of Chicago, the Chicago area. It's like a burb somewhere, but Paul Orfendez, he's the attorney for Judicial Watch, and if I'm messing that name up, I'm sorry, but he's representing Hedgepeth, And he said that a jury needs to decide if these posts, did that, if they disrupted the school, right? If that caused a disruption, or if she can't do her position anymore in that job, or if the school believed that she couldn't serve in that position anymore because of those posts for whatever reason, then the jury needs to hear all of that, and they need to decide how to appropriately and properly interpret these social media posts, okay? And if it warranted a firing. And that's what he's calling for. He's like, look, I don't think that she posted anything disparaging anybody's views. And she was challenging the traditional views on race in the United States. And she also cited a scholar in her social media post while doing it, Thomas Sowell. So the June 1st, 2020 Facebook post said this. So some of it, I'm not going to read all of it. It's a little bit lengthy, but it says, quote, "You think America is racist? Then you've been hoodwinked by the white liberal establishment and race baiters like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton." The Judicial Watch president, Tom Fitton, he argued that Hedgepeth posting to a personal audience on Facebook while vacationing in out of school hours, right? She was on vacation on her personal Facebook. He said, look, if this is a fireable offense, that means teachers don't have the First Amendment right. They're just not afforded that in a personal capacity. I understand the Pickering balancing test, but she wasn't at school. She didn't say it to a bunch of students of her. She actually took steps to make sure her Facebook didn't have current students on it. She said she didn't accept friend requests of current students. She would accept friend requests of former students. So the lower court, they dismissed her initial lawsuit that sought damages from the school district board members, officials who participated directly in the firing. Okay, so she didn't make these comments at school. It was a private Facebook group. She was posting stuff from the beach. The idea that you could get fired for something like that is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't see how this is even a thing. I can't even believe that they had the cojones to fire this woman, but they did it. And if you can't post things personally, like a teacher, why would anybody want to be a government employee in that sense? If you can't post anything in your personal capacity, why would you ever want to be a public employee? You just wouldn't. Okay, if you can't post things in your free time, right? Public school teachers have the First Amendment in their personal capacity, and I think that this passes the Pickering balancing test. It doesn't. I think for sure it does. So Tom Fitton of the Judicial Watch, he explained that Hedgepeth's comments were direct, like it was a reaction to what was going on during the George Floyd riots. Everybody was getting on Facebook. Everybody had something to say about that issue. So she got on her Facebook and said something about that issue. Okay, and she got fired for it. When you look at the material, there was nothing extreme about it. It was a straightforward, pretty conservative viewpoint. I would say that it was kind of milquetoast, to be honest with you. It wasn't like extreme. It was probably, a moderate opinion. And in the Facebook post, she also said, "I will speak on any topic I choose because I live in a free country." Yes. And I find the term white privilege as racist is the N-word. You have not walked in my shoes either, so do not make assumptions about me and my so-called privilege. Okay, so she says, you haven't walked in my shoes. I don't like the word white privilege. That's probably an annoying woke platitude that I can't stand, is the whole white privilege thing or systemic racism. All these phrases the left has, they just bother me. But upon returning from her vacation in early June of 2020, okay, this is summer break, Hedgepeth learned that the school district was investigating her for several Facebook posts. Okay, this one and then a couple of others, which I think all of them were pretty tame. Okay, and she was fired by the school board 6 weeks later upon turning from vacation when she made all of these posts. Okay, on July 16, 2020, in a 5-2 vote. So 2 people voted to not fire her, the school board. So some this is just a really interesting story. I can't believe that somebody went this far to go and fire somebody because of what they posted on Facebook to their personal friend group. I mean, it's really hard for me to fathom because I'm not a public employee. I understand the Pickering test. You can't do that, especially in your personal or in your professional capacity. The court held this is what the Pickering balancing test is for government employee speech. The court held that there is no First Amendment protection for all government employees when they make statements pursuant to their official duties. So that's the Pickering balancing test. So I don't know. I think that it passes. I think that it passes the test. She was on vacation, folks. She didn't say it to a group of kids. And for example, right, you can't have a public school teacher. So what they're doing actually in the classroom right now, probably at Unit 5, District 87, people have sent me pictures. I've seen it. They'll fly LGBTQ flags. They'll have like LGBTQ groups, at the school and clubs and all of that. You can't do that stuff because you're a public employee and you should be serving the general public, and you can't be shoving that stuff down the throats of children while being paid with taxpayer dime. Okay, you can't be pushing your political beliefs on a child in a classroom. You just can't do that as a public employee. That's called indoctrination, and we're not paying you to do that. We're paying you to teach the kids. So I definitely see a problem if maybe she did it in the classroom. Okay, but she didn't do it in the classroom. She did it on her personal Facebook page during summer break to a group of people, adults mostly, on her Facebook page. So absolutely ridiculous. All right, I do have to take a quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. We'll be right back. I want to talk about the solar plants here in the state of Illinois. There's just so many of them. They're popping up everywhere. Hey, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. We're going to be talking about the solar plants. What is the most annoying woke platitude or woke phrase that just really grinds your gears? For me, it's the trust the experts line. That really bothers the hell out of me because they're not experts, okay? They've attacked excellence so much to a point where everybody in these professions are not excellent and they're not experts by any means. Me with this little thing right here, the little phone, right? Me with the phone probably knows a little bit more than you do, just because we have that ability now with the internet and with these little things in our pockets. So there's nothing wrong with that. Now, with this age of social media, Google search engine, and verifying, checking with multiple experts, what's so wrong about doing your own research? They don't want you to do your own research because they want to gaslight you and lie to you. And really, these people aren't experts. They're not in positions of excellence. They're not in these positions because of excellence. They're in these positions largely due to things that are insignificant, like race, gender, and sexual orientation. That one really annoys me. I also really can't stand this woke platitude of your white privilege or systemic racism, your inherent bias because you're a white person. That stuff really bothers me because you haven't walked a mile in my shoes. You have no idea what I've been through, and you don't understand my experiences. And to just assume that I have a better experience than that of a black person solely based on my skin color, or you're really assuming things about my lived experience, and like it's so contradictive. Because they'll say oh, your inherent bias or your white privilege, and they'll assume things about your experiences, but then they also say be your authentic self, speak your truth, right? And they contradict each other, similar to that of the show, listen to the experts, right? They attack excellence, but they want you to trust the experts. Makes no sense. What's another one? I'm trying to throw it in the comments section if you can think of. Trust the science. Yes, trust the science when they can't even tell you what a man is and what a woman is, and they deny basic biology. So there's that, right? They've got trans women are women, right? But they can't even define what a woman is, so they contradict each other. That stuff really a good one. They've just got all these different phrases. The speak your truth, or be your authentic self, like that one really bothers me. The speak your truth bothers me probably not as bad as the experts one, trust the experts, or trust the science. That one really peeves me off too. But you've got speak your truth, but if it's your truth, there is no multiple truths. Okay, there's just the truth. Okay, so they've taken the word truth and they've uh, distorted it into something that isn't actually truth anymore, because if there's multiple truths out there, then it's no longer the truth or truth. It's just whatever you feel. Okay, speak your truth. Yeah, so that it's really annoying, and they take language and they screw it all up. A little bit later we're going to be talking about woman, so let me actually put that in the comment section. It's spelled WOMYN. Okay, woman. Okay, this is the way the feminists spell woman. Woman, because they don't want to put the E in there, because I guess like, it's terrible if we put the E in there because there's men in the word, and it takes away from women's experiences if we have the word men in the word. So it's a stupid feminazi thing. The left, they can't handle truth. They can't handle reality. Facts are not on their side. That's why they resort to distorting language and changing definitions. And this is an incredible story because there's a national spelling bee, and they approved this woke word, woman, the WOMYN, for the third graders. Okay, this is a national spelling bee for third graders, and they said that they could either spell it WOMEN or OMYN. Okay, so they're being brainwashed, these poor kids, right? The National Spelling List now, or the National Spelling Bee now lists the feminist term woman, WOMYN, as an alternate spelling for women, so WOMEN, for the 2024-2025 list. And they're going off of the dictionary. This is very Orwellian. I mean, the fact that they are able to change words in the dictionary, super Orwellian, super like 1984-esque. It's very weird. So we're going to get to that. And it's just, that's misogynistic. Okay, you have one side, and it's the left, who's upholding the invisible patriarchy that they say that they want to dismantle. What they're doing is they're holding up this invisible patriarchy at the expense of women's rights. They've even changed the word woman or women. They've changed it to where I mean, they've taken that word away from us. Okay, and it really just annoys me that these females, feminazis, believe that, you know, this is going to give power to women everywhere by replacing the E with a Y. Give me a break. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Yes, I really can't stand this woke platitude. And you guys can always text me 309-451-9299, or throw it in the comment section on YouTube or Rumble. I've been asking you this question today. What phrase does the left use that you absolutely can't stand? For me, it's trust the experts. I can't stand that. In the same breath, they'll attack excellence or talent or ability, and they'll uplift things that are insignificant, like your birth traits, or like your race, gender, sexual orientation. They'll uplift those things, and then they'll put those, like, based on your race, based on your sexual orientation, they'll put you in a position of expert, right? But really, you're not an expert, because expert is all about excellence and how excellent you are in a specific field. And they attack excellence all the time, but yet they'll tell you to trust the experts who aren't really experts. I like this one, trust the science. Yeah, coming from the people who can't tell you what a woman is, they'll tell you to trust the science. Or coming from people who think solar plants are a good thing. After many solar panels have combusted, I don't know how many more examples, Augustana College, Olympia High School, or Olympia School District. I think it's the middle school and high school. I'm not too sure, but remember when the solar panels just like caught on fire? The electric vehicles in the Rivian parking lot, like 50 of them went up in flames, okay? I could go on. All the Walmart rooftops with the solar panels on the top. They had to stop putting them on the tops of roofs because they kept catching on fire. There was, I mean, I could go on and on. There's been so many solar panel fires. It's not even funny. They have to, these are really hard to put out. You talk to firemen. They're really tough to put out. In fact, I think it was the one. I do want to say it was the Olympia one where they had to like disconnect something in order to put out the fire. It's tricky to put out those fires. So despite the science telling us, hey, it's not there yet, there's obviously something wrong. Things are just randomly going up in flames. Okay, these solar panels are randomly going up in flames. Despite seeing that with our eyes, knowing that the science isn't there for these things, they're putting them everywhere. So the solar plants, they're popping up everywhere in Illinois. Specifically, this one kind of hit home for me because it's 3,600 acres that they're going after in Custer Park. Some Illinoisans are opposed to this, and by some, I mean all. I have not heard one resident come out and speak in favor of this project. Maybe elected Democrats will come out and speak in favor of this project, but I haven't heard of one just normal citizen in a non-elected position come out and be proponents of this project. They're using farmland for the purpose of solar and wind projects everywhere in the state of Illinois, but specifically I want to talk about House Bill 412. Now, there's a petition out there, and petitioner Patricia Malcolm, she said that this bill took away the power of local government to say no to such projects. Okay, that's what this bill did. And what really bothers me is that you've got people who have voted Democrat their entire lives. Okay, and now almost all these Illinois residents are upset about this, and they're like, "I'm so upset. I'm so upset about this farmland being eaten up." By these solar and wind projects. You voted Democrat your whole life, and they're just so naive that they haven't put it together until now. And I'm glad that people are waking up now. They haven't put it together that the Democrats have been doing this for years. It's been a slow chipping away at your rights, at your property rights, all your rights, your human rights, your property rights. They slowly chip away at it with bills like House Bill 4412, which was passed in 2023. Okay, so there is a petition out there urging legislators to actually support House Bill 4422. Okay, now 4422 is sponsored by Tony McComey and Jason Bunting. I think that this bill has got a chance because Tony McComey, right, usually Rhino-sponsored bills kind of get pushed through. So you've got House Bill 4422, and this is what one petitioner said, I think it's horrific. I think it's communistic to take away the ability of the local government to do what's best for the community, to take their power away for whatever reason, for him to maybe look good, the promise of green energy to the Biden administration, whatever he did, what was thinking in his head, it's communistic to take away the power of local government. I don't care what your reasoning was. Governor J.B. Pritzker did this probably, and I'm willing to say it most likely, it was because he wanted to look good in front of Joe Biden and the Biden administration, and he wanted to promise green energy for the Biden administration, i.e. China, because these are all coming from China or foreign governments, right, where they're building these windmills, they're building these solar panels, and they're making buco bucks, right, by selling us all of their solar panels that eventually catch on fire. So she says, what my thoughts are, this is Malcolm, what my thoughts are is that he did it to make himself look good, to heck with everybody else, and it affects. So the petition has close to like 200 signatures. I'll throw it up on my Facebook page for you guys if you want to sign it. 3,600 solar plant is expected to arrive in Custer Park. And just to put this into perspective for you, that's pretty much all of Custer Park, okay? Like, there's not a whole lot there. It's a lot of like farm communities, some houses, and this is going to take up a good chunk of the community there. And, right now, what's there is, plant life and flowers and wildlife. I mean, and they're going to go up and they're going to dig up all of this and they're going to flatten it all out for these solar panels. Give me a break. So Malcolm, she said that the Will County board members are probably scared of lawsuits from Acciona. Acciona is a company that wants to build the solar plants. And remember when I told you earlier in the show about how Acciona wants to take the energy and probably give it to Amazon, the energy generated by these solar panels, what little it does generate. So I've got to take a quick break, but we're going to talk about Governor J.B. Pritzker because this is interesting. Back in 2022, Governor J.B. Pritzker was asked very explicitly, like, are you going to support legislation that would create statewide controls? And that's exactly what House Bill 4412 is. Don't let anybody gaslight you into thinking that it's not. And he admits that it does. It is. House Bill 4412 is a statewide control over, wind, siting over wind and solar projects. Okay, so where these sites are going to be and who has the say over it, there, it's all the state. Okay, with this bill, House Bill 4412. Now I got to take a break, but he contradicted that. In 2022, he said that he wasn't going to pass statewide legislation that controlled the siting of wind and solar projects. And then fast forward to 2023, he contradicted remarks he made in 2022 before the November election, by the way, with Darren Bailey. That was a very hot election. And he, lied to get himself elected. I mean, this is what it looks like. He lied to get himself elected. And then in 2023, what did he do? He signed this bill that takes the local control away and gives it to the state. So I'm going to be right back explaining that and playing a little bit from our Governor Jelly Bean. Some clips. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. World Economic Forum and billionaires in the Club Pritzker want to be accepted into the World Economic Forum and the Billionaire Club. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. And it's, they're making these things out of China. In the Obama administration, actually, fun fact, we actually was just talking about this with my brother. He's having some car troubles with actually the sensors. There's all kinds of sensors like for your engine and blah, blah, blah. And that all came from the Obama administration, and they were like, they sold it to you and they were like, oh, well, we're going to put sensors in here because it's for your safety. And we want you to know, like, for emissions as well, like emissions, air quality control, right? They wanted to put all kinds of sensors in there. Like if your exhaust, if there is an issue with, your exhaust, and how sometimes the exhaust, I'm not a car guy, as you can tell, but if the exhaust, you have these black plumes come out, that can happen sometimes. You'll have a sensor pop on if there is a problem with your exhaust and something that is coming out of your exhaust that shouldn't be coming out of your exhaust. So they mandated the car companies, like General Motors, they mandated that they put in all of these sensors for the cars. The sensors cause a whole lot of problems for people, i.e. my brother dealing with it right now, trying to get his car fixed up. The sensors are all going bad because they're cheap ass sensors made in China. And here's the whole thing. The Obama administration did that, and they'll tell you, oh, it's for the emissions, it's for, air quality control, it's for your safety. Come on, give me a break. We all know that you did that because you wanted China to make the sensors and you wanted China to get rich. It's exactly what's going on here. Okay. You wanted China to get rich, and you mandated these General Motor companies to put these sensors in these cars in order for them to make more of these little sensors to put into the cars to get themselves richer and richer. And it's your evaporator sensor, evap sensor. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not a car guy. I don't know. He was explaining it to me yesterday, and um, I know Obama forced these car companies like GM to put all of that in there, and it causes way more headaches than it does anything else because they're made cheap, but they sell it for buco bucks, right? The Chinese and whoever makes these sensors. And it's all about lining the pockets of your billionaire friends. That's what this is about. It's not about the science. Okay, it's not about the emissions. It's not about the green energy. It's not about protecting the planet like they tell you. It's all about making your friends rich. That's what it's all about. So a lot of people have to deal with the sensors, and now a lot of people are having to deal with the solar panels and them catching on fire. I told you, what was it, Augustana College? Um, Let me look up that solar fire when that happened. It was in August of 2023. There was a solar panel fire at Augustana's PepsiCo Center. There was also the Olympia solar fire. There was a Farmington solar fire. It was in the middle of a field, so thank God nobody was hurt, right? But in the case of Olympia or Augustana PepsiCo Center, I mean, a lot of people could have gotten hurt. I know with Olympia, I mean, they had to replace the entire gym floor. This was beautiful hardwood. It was the original hardwood flooring in the Olympia gym. And it burnt right through, and there was just water from the hoses to try to put the fire out, just seeped onto the floor, destroyed the floor, and there was Crew's fine source of grass fire. So these people are just so, here's WEEK. This is so misleading, absolutely misleading. Crews find the source of grass fire. It's not a grass fire, okay, near Farmington underneath solar panels. Like what? The grass randomly here. Let me present. I'm going to present you with this headline. You are going to laugh your butt off, okay? Here we go. I want to share this with you, this headline, just so that way you know I'm not lying. Here it is. Crews find source of grass fire near Farmington underneath the solar panels. Yeah, okay. If it's underneath the solar panels, like look at all this burnt up grass. Look at this. This is clearly a solar panel fire. Okay, so if they wanted to rewrite this headline, I'll rewrite it for you, WEEK. Crews find source of grass fire near Farmington underneath solar panels. How about this? Solar panels combust because they're crap. Okay, and it causes a fire in Farmington. How's that sound? That's more accurate? Okay, because they're absolute crap science and it's pseudoscience. I'm just curious. So this was in 2023. So this is June 2023. Oh, of course. Yeah. Now that headline makes sense. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, give me a break. Yeah, the inverter, that's what they are. They're called the inverters. There's something wrong with them, and they haven't been able to perfect that science with the inverters, and they have to. That's where the fires always start, and they kind of got to unplug the inverter in order to even think about putting out the fire, because without that inverter kind of dismantled, it'll just continue to burn. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. Now, like I said, I wanted to get to Governor J.B. Pritzker and his lies, because this is just a straight up lie. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to take this and I'm going to play it back to back for you. Okay, so this was in November of 2022, prior to the November election. He was asked by the Illinois, I think it was the Illinois Farm Bureau here, if he was going to pass statewide legislation or if he would support statewide legislation to create statewide controls over the siting of wind and solar projects, like where these wind and solar projects end up. Are you going to give controls to the state? So let's take a listen to this clip. This is from the Center Square. Here we go.
As governor, would you support or continue or to support legislation to create statewide controls over the siting of wind or solar projects?
Can you repeat the first part of that question?
I sure will. As governor, would you support legislation to create statewide controls over the siting of wind or solar projects?
No, in fact, I've specifically avoided that. I don't think that's the way. We've got to have a continuous conversation, the one that we've been having for years now, between the state and local governments and local control, so that we decide together about siting. This is look, it's challenging. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. That's what he said in 2022 prior to the election. Okay. I want to make that very, very clear. This was prior to the election. Now, if we take a look at this clip, this is in 2023. Okay. Now he just contradicts himself. He completely has a reversal from his remarks that he made in 2022. So in 2023, Governor J.B. Pritzker made remarks that contradicted remarks he made before the November 2022 election, where he had insured the Illinois Farm Bureau. I don't know how much gets clearer than that. He shook his head. He said, no, the local government and the state government have to work together. And he goes, that can be challenging, but they have to work together. Okay. And he had insured the Illinois Farm Bureau that local governments would have control over these projects. Take a listen to him after he got elected and beat Darren Bailey. Take a listen. Here we go.
Very important for us to make sure that counties, local governments, and the state all have input here. Whenever there is an opportunity for a farmer, a landowner to put clean energy on their land and to reap the benefits of that. And so this bill simply spreads that out a little bit more and doesn't allow a county or local government to hold hostage an opportunity for a local farmer, for example, to make a little extra money.
Okay. So now they can only have input. They can't, they can't actually make the decision, okay, whether or not this wind farm goes here, or there's solar. I hate calling them wind farms. This wind plant or this solar plant, right? Because it's not a farm. They're creating energy. You don't call a nuclear plant nuclear farm, right? Notice how they changed language, the left. So right here he says, oh, it's okay if they have input, but only if that input is the kind of input that we want. That's essentially, I mean, what he's saying here. He says that we're not going to allow local governments to hold hostage an opportunity for local farmers to make money, because it's all about the money, right? It's not about, oh, are we going to have this land, these precious resources to create food, okay, and to make food for people and to grow food? Are we going to have this precious land reserved and preserved for the wildlife and the plant life? Okay, where they're going to put this solar plant, I've been there. The 3,600 acres, it is the most gorgeous. It's right down Smiley Road, right there in Custer Park. It is the most gorgeous plot of land. It's got all kinds of wildlife. I mean, every single time I'm going down Smiley Road, I'm like, oh, I got to watch out for the deer. There's so many of them, right? And they're going to go in and they're going to put these ugly little solar panels in there. And the Will County Board, they got no cojones. I got to take a quick break, but we're going to talk about the Will County Board, because this is what they're going to say. We're freaked out. We don't want to get sued. We want to preserve the taxpayer dollars. Right now, all of a sudden, you want to preserve the taxpayer dollars. Give me a break. We want to not spend taxpayer money on lawsuits defending the county from these solar companies. Give me a break. You guys love spending taxpayer money, and this is like the one time where we want you to spend our money, right? Like, this is the one thing that we'd all probably agree, hey, you should probably spend our money defending our town and our community against these evil corporations. So I'm going to be right back. I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Every time I bring up Governor J.B. Pritzker, there's a fat joke. I love it. I'm not mad. Farmers hold hostage to opportunities and that fascism. So, yeah, he's going to say that the county board and like he's trying to do this whole like, oh, your local officials at a county level. For somebody who talks about democracy and, would go after Donald Trump and say that he's a threat to democracy. I'll tell you what's a threat to democracy and what is really bad for democracy is manipulating the constituency against their local elected officials. And trying to imply that your local elected officials are holding hostage your opportunity to make money. Okay, that's what he's doing there with that. I'll throw up his quote, what he actually said. The bill doesn't allow the county or local government. Okay, so he is throwing your local government under the bus here, and he's trying to get to you as a constituent, not an elected official, to think that your county government, if they're against this, are holding an opportunity for you hostage. Okay, that's what he's doing here. It's very, for all that Governor J.B. Pritzker is, this guy is like an evil genius. Okay. And in fact, it's really interesting to see him talk because he does this. I've mentioned this before where he kind of rubs his thumbs like this together when he's just taking interviews and answering questions. He'll like sit there, have his hands folded, and start rubbing his thumbs together. Very evil villain-esque. Right? It's really interesting to see. But this guy totally is playing 4D chess. He's very, very good at what he does, and that's manipulating the public. So what he's doing here, for somebody who says that, oh, Donald Trump's a threat to democracy is so important, I don't think it gets any more undemocratic than this, where you are telling your constituents, don't trust your local government. Your local government is holding hostage opportunities for you to make money. Listen to me. Your state leader, your state government, big government. Don't listen to your local government. But these local governments, that's where, he's causing this divide, but he's trying to disconnect you from your local government. Your local government is representative of you. And they're the closest to you, and they're going to be the ones who have your best interest in mind because these guys are your neighbors. They live in your communities, and that's a really important relationship. You and your local elected officials, like your town councilman or your county board members. That's a super important relationship that you have to have. And he's trying to gaslight you into thinking that it's the local government who's opposed to this and it's the county board who's opposed to this. It's not you. There's opportunity for you to make money, constituent. Don't listen to but the local government is you. And the reason why these local governments are opposed to it is because they're hearing from your neighbors, your constituency, and the constituency is saying that they don't want it. Okay, so he's kind of trying to gaslight you into thinking that it's the local government who are opposed to these solar and wind projects. It's not actually the constituency, it's the local. That's the most screwed up thing when it comes to democracy. It really is. Like that, it doesn't get much more fascist than that. Trying to divide the constituency from their local elected officials. Yeah, local government gets their input from the people. Okay, they're the ones who have to live in those communities, and they're the ones who, if they're opposed to something, it's most likely coming from their neighbors who say they're opposed to it. Okay, their representatives. Now you might have some people who don't hear from any of their constituents and they take a rogue opinion. And how do you know if they're taking like a rogue opinion or their own opinion and they're not being representative of the community there? How do you know? Public comment. Okay, if there is absolutely zero public comment, and I have yet to see it from these communities where there's a proponent for these things that aren't the company. Okay, now, of course, the company is a proponent of the solar projects. because they have everything to gain, money, opportunity, right? But I have yet to see a constituent who lives in that area to be a proponent of this project. So yeah, very, very dictatorish. Don't like that at all, where he's, oh, your local government is holding hostage an opportunity for the local farmer, for example, to make a little extra money. Mm-hmm. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Governor J.B. Pritzker knows exactly what he's doing. And that quote, being that he's somebody who's going after Donald Trump, called him a threat to democracy, yada, yada, yada. He says, quote, this bill doesn't allow a county or local government to hold hostage an opportunity for a local farmer, for example, to make a little extra money, okay? What he's doing there, it's very strategic. He's a dictator. He's a tyrant. What he's doing here is he's trying to division between you and your local representation. He does not want you to go to your local representation because this guy knows that it starts there. It starts with your county board, and it starts by you going to public comment. And he's trying to divide us, like in our own communities. These local governments, your county board member lives in your area. They're your neighbor, okay? And he wants to divide you from your neighbor and from your local representation. And it's the most communist, it's the most tyrant thing I think I've ever heard him say. And that's saying something because this is Governor J.B. Pritzker. So in June, the Will County Board did turn down Soltage. This is a different company who wanted to build another solar plant. Yes, a different one from the Custer Park one. They wanted to build another solar plant in Shanahan. Now, they turned that down. I'm not sure if they're getting sued for that right now, but there's fear that they're going to get sued from Osceola, this project that's planned for Custer Park, if they say we're not doing it. Okay, so what I have to say to that is, yeah, have a little bit of courage. Okay, so according to Pat Malcolm, she's the petitioner here. She had a conversation with a Will County board member. You look this guy up, you know exactly what this is all about. It's all about money for these people. Joe Van Dyne. He says, oh, I don't want to spend taxpayer money defending the county from solar company suits. Okay, if the solar companies file a lawsuit against the county, I don't want to spend money on that. This guy is all about Patrick Joyce. This guy is all about Anthony DeLucia, I think is his name. These are Democrats, top Democrats, and they're pals of Governor J.B. Pritzker in the state house. Okay, so Joe Van Dyne is pals with Patrick Joyce, and they're all in it together. It's not about spending taxpayer money. It's about you helping out your friends and helping out Governor J.B. Pritzker. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. We're going to be right back, and I do want to get into, gosh, I've got so much to get to today. I do want to get to Joe Biden telling us that telling Kamala Harris, you're not going anywhere, kid. And there's speculation that she is actually going to run for governor of California in 2026, or possibly make another run at president in 2028. So stay tuned. I'm going to go heat up my coffee. I'll be right back in just a minute. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Subscribe. Hit that like button and subscribe. Welcome to the Red Kingdom. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. We've got so much to get to this morning. I do want to talk about Sleepy Joe Biden. He's informed Kamala Harris that she's not going anywhere, kid. You're not going anywhere. I guess there's rumors over whether Kamala will continue her pathetic political career. There's speculation that she's either going to be California governor or go for California governor in 2026. She could possibly also go for another presidential run in 2028. We're going to get to that. I also want to get to the spelling bee. This is kind of hilarious because there's this spelling bee. It's a national spelling bee, and they just approved a new woke word. It's called woman, okay, but it's spelled WOMYN. And this is a feminazi word. Okay, they approved this woke word for this list for the third graders to spell from, right? It's a national spelling bee, and they approved this feminazi word woman. And the reason why they spell it MYN instead of MEN is because they don't want the word men in woman. I'm going to get to it because I'm just so sick and tired of the left changing language. They don't have truth on their side. They don't have reality. They don't have facts on their side. So they resort to distorting language and changing definitions. And it's all meant to confuse and mislead and gaslight the masses and it's an attempt to bring their woke revolution to fruition. That's what this is all about, because they don't have truth, reality, or facts on their side, so they have to resort to this distorting of language and changing words and definitions. And now they're changing the spellings of things. I do want to talk about Kamala Harris. I guess she was at this thing with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden took to the stage and said that she's not going anywhere, kid. Take a listen. Here's Joe Biden. I think they were in Washington, D.C. It's the DNC holiday reception. This was last night. I think it was last night. Take a listen.
I knew what I was doing, asking her to be my vice president. I knew her. I knew of her. I knew about her. I knew her record. I trusted her. She always served this country with purpose and integrity, and she always will. And you're not going anywhere, kid, because we're not going to let you go. Not going anywhere.
We're not going to let you go. Okay, I want to make a correction. It's the Democrat National Committee. It wasn't yesterday. It was on Sunday night. It wasn't on Monday night. It was on Sunday night. So he goes, it's been so incredible and an honor to serve with someone with immense character. This is what Joe Biden said at this DNC holiday reception in Washington, D.C., okay? He goes, it's been an honor to serve with someone with immense character. She has demonstrated throughout her entire career. He says that she's demonstrated immense character throughout her entire career. Kamala Harris, are you talking about Kamala Harris, Joe Biden? Because I don't think we're talking about the same Kamala Harris. So I don't know how exactly overseeing the worst immigration crisis in American history demonstrated immense character, but you do you, Joe, I guess. Additionally, it's also unclear what he means when he claims that she portrayed immense character throughout her entire political career, as she has yet to learn much of anything in regard to character or competence. I don't think she's got much character at all. I think I've got more character in my little finger than she does in her entire body. This woman literally got her start in politics for not being the type of woman that you'd bring home to mom. Okay, she got her start in politics being that type of woman, and she hid evidence, and this is where I want to kind of start today, and I'm going to dig into Kamala Harris because it's very important that we know what she did during her entire political career, and her political career should end with that 2024 loss, okay? It should be over with. And I have proof as to why she is a terrible person and would be a terrible politician in any kind of capacity. So she hid evidence of an innocent man, and then she also held people in prison longer than their terms to use them for cheap labor. She did all of this in her time as Attorney General and in her time as a prosecutor for California. So I pulled this from the Heritage Foundation. This is really interesting. Take a listen. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, when she was elected in 2016, she appointed a transition team to help develop policy recommendations, okay, to combat the rampant crime. This is just carnage in Chicago, okay, and this is what Kim Foxx did. She appointed a team, okay, and we know what Chicago is, and we know the violence that takes place there, and we know how terrible Kim Foxx's policies were. They're so terrible, she didn't run for re-election, okay? Now, she was elected to the office in 2016. Guess who she appointed to the transition team to develop policy recommendations? The team was co-chaired by then California Attorney General and Senate-elect Kamala Harris. Okay, so you want to blame somebody for Cook County crime? You want to blame somebody for Chicago crime? Kamala Harris is to blame. Okay, she was the lead, the co-lead on this transition team in 2016, and she developed policy for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, Kim Foxx at the time. So other than Harris, no one else on the transition team had been or was a career prosecutor. Okay, so she had prosecution experience. Nobody else on the team had this kind of, so most had dedicated their professional careers to social justice causes. She's the only one who actually had like prosecutor experience. The transition team's report reflected this fact. So it was 12 pages long, this report that they came up with. It was only 12 pages long. It was a policy, and the report had made 23 recommendations for Kim Foxx going in. This is all for Kim Foxx, okay, and how she was going to run that office going into this office in 2016, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Key recommendations in this 12-page, report recommended. So here were some of the recommendations. Some key recommendations included highlighting racial inequalities in the justice system and focus on the prosecution of police misconduct. Anti-police recommendation. I see what we're doing. The need to review convictions earned by the office for possible reversal. Okay, so they needed to review all the convictions that they've made previously in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. And we need to review all those, and we need to possibly reverse a lot of them. And we need to increase diversity in the office. We need to do some DEI hires. That's what this whole recommendation drafted up by Kamala Harris, who led this transition team and led this team to make policy recommendations. She said, we need to focus when prosecuting crime, we need to focus on racial inequalities. We need to focus on prosecuting police officers. We need to hire more diversity in the office, and we need to reverse convictions. Sounds like an awesome prosecutor. No, it sounds like the opposite of a prosecutor. Am I right? So never once did the report mention Chicago's high crime rates or ongoing gang problems. Instead, it focused on things such as developing a plan to make sure all the attorneys in the office were trained on implicit bias and racial disparity in the criminal justice system. Oh, your white privilege. You need to know about your white privilege, okay, if you work in the office, and you need to be trained on how to deal with your bias as a white guy. God. So today, Vice President Vice President Kamala Harris, she tried to run on her radical prosecution record. Okay, she tried to run on that in 2024. Okay, she lost, but we were supposed to believe that she was tough on crime. It's the complete opposite. This 12-page report that she drafted up for Kim Foxx. And now, fast forward after Kim Foxx office, and after she was elected to this office, and after a Kim Foxx term, fast forward, crime is worse now in Chicago than it ever has been. It's substantially worse than it was in 2016. So she wanted her supporters to believe that she was tough on crime. She trotted out her tried and true tropes about being a San Francisco and then California's top legal officer, the Attorney General. She was a San Francisco prosecutor, and then she was the California Attorney General. She trotted that all out, and it sounded great, right? And we almost all bought into it, but we didn't. She just she's not qualified for a Burger King. Okay, she's not qualified for the White House. She's not qualified for the governor's office of California. The truth is that Kamala Harris's record shows that she's soft on crime. She's coddled criminals at the expense of victims and our communities. And consider these two cases. Now, this is from the Heritage Foundation. This is really interesting. I want to dig into this because I want Kamala Harris, her political career to be over. And there should be no question as to why her political career should be over. She got into it, by being the type of woman that you don't bring home to mom. But she also did this. Take a listen to these two cases from her time as a San Francisco district attorney. Take a listen. She refused to seek the death penalty against a man suspected being a gang member, Edwin Ramos, who shot and killed his father and his two sons. Okay, so 3 people he killed. 3 people he killed. So his dad and his 2 sons. So Edwin's 2 sons, Edmund Ramos. Even though California allows the state to seek the death penalty for multiple murders by the same person, not only did Ramos kill 3 innocent people, but he had also previously been charged by robbing a pregnant woman. Okay, so she was pregnant and he robbed this woman. In a different case, so that's one case, she didn't seek the death penalty. And like I said, I'm not much for death penalty, but as a prosecutor, you should probably prosecute to the highest extent of the law. The law allows, for people like that. Okay, in your role as a prosecutor, your job is to prosecute crime, especially for people like this guy, Edwin. I mean, come on. You got to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. That's the prosecution's job. Okay, and she wasn't even doing her job then. Okay, and a different case, there was a gang member in San Francisco, killed police officer Isaac Espinoza, and he wounded his partner. Kamala Harris again refused to seek the death penalty. At the time, this was considered radical even by liberal Democrats. Okay, this was very, very radical, even by liberal Democrat standards back in this time when she was prosecuting these cases. Liberal Democrats were coming out and they were saying, wait a second, why aren't you going for the death penalty? U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer called for the death penalty. And then California Attorney General Bill Lockyer had threatened to take the case away from Kamala Harris, saying that the officer's funeral, if you make charging decisions based on personal philosophy and not the facts, I will take the case away from you. So my personal philosophy, I don't like the death penalty. I really don't. But if I was a prosecutor, it's not my job to insert my personal philosophy. If the state law allows me to seek the death penalty, and I'm tasked with prosecuting this guy to the fullest extent of the law, then I need to do my job. So the then California Attorney General, who was by no means a conservative, Dianne Feinstein, by no means a conservative, Barbara Boxer, they called for the death penalty for this guy. And he said, look, I'm going to take away the case if you don't charge these cases based on the facts and not your personal philosophy. He says, I'm going to take the case away from you. So Harris has flip-flopped on whether police provide public safety. She actually wrote a book in 2009. This woman has no spine. She has no viewpoint really of her own, I don't think. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to talk more about her as a politician and her career. I think it's really important because she has not done anything in her political career that would warrant her obtaining an even higher office of what she's already obtained, the vice presidency. Okay, there is no reason we should even think that Kamala Harris could be the California governor, because there's speculation that she might run for governor now. There's also speculation that she could be running in 2028. And we need to shut that stuff shut it down. shut it down, because this woman has no credibility and no character. Immense character. Give me a break. Does any of that come close to immense character? Working with Kim Foxx to create probably the most violent 8 years that we've seen under a Kim Foxx reign, under a Kim Foxx term. None of that comes close to immense character. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Yeah, Harris is an attention whore. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, she is an attention whore, and she'll do anything to get it. So she has this chameleon approach to criminal justice issues where she just kind of blends in with the crowd, and she says one thing, but does another, and then she flip-flops on all of these issues. On top of her radicalism as a district attorney, she also demonstrated gross incompetence. For example, she didn't disclose. So this is where it gets crazy. This is from the Heritage Foundation. I want to share this with you. On top of her radicalism as a district attorney, she also demonstrated gross incompetence. For example, she didn't disclose exculpatory evidence to defense attorneys. So this exculpatory evidence is evidence that indicates that this person is innocent, and she withheld that from the defense attorneys. So she is grossly incompetent. That is one thing that you do as prosecution. If you find evidence that exonerates or proves the client is innocent, the defense, you don't continue prosecuting the case. Okay. And resulting in more, so it was exculpatory evidence to defense attorneys about an unethical police expert, resulting in more than 600 cases being dismissed. And later on, as the state attorney general, she was punished. This is a punishment by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit for using falsified confession. So she used a falsified confession, and she was punished by the U.S. Court of Appeals for this. So we're going to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Hey, good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. I'm taking some time with this today because I kind of don't ever want to talk about Kamala Harris ever again after Trump's inaugurated, to be honest with you. But I have a feeling that I'm going to have to be talking about her because there's speculation now that she's going to be running for governor in 2026 in California, and that she possibly is going to be making a run at president again in 2028. I want her to go away. I want her to go away because her career has just been abysmal on top of all of her radicalism. Okay, we've gone through her radicalism, these two cases where she should have sought the death penalty because that's her job as a prosecutor. I have my own personal philosophy on the death penalty. I'm sure she had her own personal philosophy on the death penalty, but you don't go charging and making decisions and charging people and prosecuting people based on your personal philosophy. You have to do it based on facts. And she was almost let go. She almost got the cases taken away from her by the then Attorney General, Bill Lockyer. Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, they all called for the death penalty for these people. Even liberal Democrats were calling for the death penalty for these couple of guys. And she didn't do it because she has a personal philosophy and she put that over the facts. And that's something that you don't do as a prosecutor. So on top of all of her radicalism as a district attorney, I told you about those two cases with the death penalty, she's also demonstrated gross incompetence. Okay, so she has terrible character. She has gross incompetence in her entire political career. She didn't disclose exculpatory evidence to defense attorneys about an unethical police expert, and that resulted in more than 600 cases being dismissed. Okay, so exculpatory evidence is evidence that proves that somebody is innocent. Okay, so there was evidence about an unethical police expert. He probably provided like false testimony. I don't know what that evidence exactly was, but it would have proved that the defense, like the guy that she was going after, was innocent. And she ignored that, the evidence that proved that this guy was evidence, and she didn't disclose that to the defense attorneys. That's very unethical. That's very incompetent. And later on, as a state attorney general, actually, of California, which she did, she was criticized and censured by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit for using a falsified confession. So she used a falsified confession, and the Court of Appeals punished her essentially for using this falsified confession. So before I took the break, I was telling you about how she's flip-floppy too. Like, you have no idea. You can't elect this woman to any office. She can't even be dog catcher because this woman does not know where she stands on any issue because she's constantly flip-flopping on issues. We saw that through the presidential run, that she made in 2024. She flip-flopped on whether police provide public safety. Okay, so she wrote in her 2009 book, Smart on Crime, that having more police on the streets help with public safety. This, of course, is correct. Okay, in the 2009 book, she wrote Smart on Crime. But more recently, right, as the political winds in the Democratic Party have shifted against policing and prosecution, Kamala Harris told ABC's George Stephanopoulos that the idea that the best way to achieve more safety is to put more police officers on the street is just wrong. Okay, so that's what she said more recently in her 2009 book. She said that more police on the street actually helps public safety, but she flip-flopped on that. So she also applauded Los Angeles mayor, the then Los Angeles mayor, I think this was during the 2020 riots with George Floyd. She applauded his decision to cut $150 million from the city's police department budget. Okay, this was recently where he decided to do this, and it was $150 million that he cut from the city's police department budget. So her running mate also during the 2024 election, we know Tim Walz was no better, looting, rioting. He condoned all of that in his state. And his wife, right, I'll never forget this, Gwen, talked about in an interview how she enjoyed the smell of burnt rubber, and the city was burning down and she was just smelling the burnt rubber from her window, and it was just so nostalgic for her. Like, what? So Harris, she, during the 2024 riots, we know that she raised bail money for people, encouraged people to give to give money to this bail fund, okay, to spring people from jail who are arrested for violating the law. So she's a chameleon. She approaches criminal justice issues like a chameleon. She flip-flops all of the time. And Chicagoans, they know all too well that she's a radical who supported the policies and actually created the policies. You want to blame somebody for Chicago crime? Kamala Harris. She's the reason why it got so bad between 2016 and 2024. Okay. We know, Chicagoans know, the great harm she caused with those policies, the Kim Foxx policies that she drafted and recommended Kim Foxx use. Okay. And she's likely going to continue using those policies at either a state level or a federal level if she continues down this road and gets into politics still. And like I said, how is any of this? Joe Biden says, and the reason why I brought all of this up is because Joe Biden at the DNC holiday reception over the weekend said, "You're not going anywhere, kid. You have immense character." How is any of that immense character? Guys that deserve the death penalty, or she needs to prosecute people with the death penalty. And then she holds evidence that would exonerate a guy, an innocent man. She withheld evidence that would have proved that he was innocent from the defense attorneys. And he said this. Here's what Joe Biden says. He says, quote, "I knew what I was doing when I asked her to be my vice president. She has always served this country with purpose and integrity." Yeah, sure. DEI hires in Kim Foxx's office. That's integrity. That's purpose. Trying to reverse prior convictions that the Cook County State's attorney had gotten before Kim Foxx, reviewing those and reversing those convictions. Yeah, that's a lot of integrity. Give me a break. He says that she always served this country with purpose and integrity, and she always will. You're not going anywhere, kid, because we're not going to let you go. When someone claims they knew what they were doing when they did it, that's a sign that they had no idea what they were doing. Like, it goes without saying, like, of course, why would you have to clarify that, Joe, that you knew what you were doing when you selected her as vice president, okay, or you wanted her to be your vice president? Why do you have to clarify that? It kind of goes without saying that you knew what you're doing. Why do you have to say you knew what you were doing when you selected her to be vice president? It kind of shows to me, or it tells me, that you actually had no clue what you were doing when you selected her as a vice president. Because let's get real, Joe. You probably don't even know that you're president at the time, okay? And yet you're going to try to get me to believe that you selected Kamala Harris because you definitely knew what you were doing. Right. Whatever you say, Joe. And since when is it up to him whether or not she goes anywhere or stays into politics? And where is she not going? Right? Like, you're not going anywhere. Like, is he talking about her being in politics? I don't know. Kamala, so she became the presidential nominee after Joe Biden dropped out of the race in July. She ran this campaign for 4 months, and she ultimately lost to Donald Trump. And it's unclear what she's going to do next. Okay, so some reports suggest that she's contemplating whether to run for governor of California in 2026 to try to win the Democratic nomination, or she's going to try to win the Democratic nomination in 2028 and take another stab at the presidency. I just want somebody to name one positive thing. Name me one positive thing that she's done, either as a district attorney or as the attorney general. I don't think anybody can. Okay, but here's the thing. In her home state, she might actually have a chance to win the governorship. Because we're dealing with a population there in California who suffer from something I like to call Stockholm syndrome. They sympathize with their abusers, and she may very well win the state. Here in Illinois, there's a lot of people who suffer, in Chicago and in these liberal communities, who suffer from Stockholm syndrome. They don't quite understand that that's who they keep they're electing people who destroy their lives, similar to that solar plant story that I had earlier today. You know, a lot of these people I know in the Custer Park community, they voted for these blue dog Democrats all their lives, you know, unions and the Illinois Farm Bureau Democrats, right? The Illinois Farm Bureau endorsing Democrats, and they voted for whoever the Illinois Farm Bureau endorsed, right? And they've done this for years in that community. The Patrick Joyces, the Joe Van Dynes, and they're Democrats, and they present themselves as, you know, not radical Democrats, and they don't talk about the social issues, but they're Democrats, and they vote for things and draft policy and create policy that destroy your life ultimately and take away things like property rights, your property rights. So fast forward a couple of years, they drafted up and signed and proposed Patrick Joyce, right? HB 4412, which takes away local control for these communities to have a say in whether these wind or solar plants come to their community. So Stockholm syndrome, right? They sympathize with their abusers and they just keep voting for the same. So she might actually have a shot at California governor. She's the kind of person that desperately craves attention, okay? And she will do whatever it takes, no matter how foolish she looks. She will do whatever it takes to get into the public eye because she loves attention. I don't know if she didn't get enough from her dad growing up. I have no idea. But this woman can barely put sentences together. And she very well may become the governor of the third largest state in the nation. And yeah, it sounds like a Californian's problem, though, not mine. Not my problem. It's not really an American people problem, but here in Illinois, I think we've just kind of given up crafting our own legislation, and we just take everything from California. So it could probably affect you in Illinois, and more so than anybody else in the country, because we just kind of take California's policies and we slap our name on it and say, "Yep, that's good." No, quite literally, we do that. That actually happened in the state of Illinois, where it was like pretty much word for word the bill that they had to add something to do with phasing out electric vehicles and by 2030 or something like that, or phasing out gas powered vehicles by 2030. And we literally copy and pasted California's law and just put our name on it like Illinois law. And like that's what our Illinois legislators are doing. All right, I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Hey, friends, we're going to be back. We're going to be talking a little bit about this National Spelling Bee, how they have changed the spelling of the word woman, and now they want third graders to spell this word woman, WOMYN, and they're changing the word, and they've already changed the word in the dictionary. This is already like an approved spelling of the word women, and it's WYMN, because the feminazis, they hate the word men being in the word women. They don't want the word men, MEN, in the word women, so they manipulated the spelling like they manipulate definitions and language, because reality and truth isn't on their side. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I want to get to this story. Given that the left does not have truth, reality, or the facts on their side, what they like to do is distort language and change definitions. And they do this to confuse you, to mislead you, and to gaslight you. And they do this because they want to bring their woke revolution to fruition. And we can't even have basic words anymore like women. WOMEN. Okay, this is why they've decided that third graders should be brainwashed into believing that women, WOMYN, is an actual word, and it doesn't make any sense. So the National Spelling Bee now lists the feminist term women, WOMYN, and they took the E out of it and they replaced it with a Y. They list that term as an alternate spelling for women, WOMEN, or WOMEN, for the 2024-2025 list. So take a listen to this. Here we go. Some reporting from Fox News.
So there's another interesting story that has piqued our attention today, and it has to do with the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Yeah. Of all things. And it's because they just posted their list of words for the third graders who are going to take the Scripps Spelling Bee. I believe this happens in May. And the spelling of woman, they posed two ways: the way that we all spell it, and also an alternative spelling, WOMYN. And that is the spelling that feminists use to avoid having the word men in the word woman. So the Scripps National Spelling Bee, if this word comes up, would also accept the feminist spelling of the word woman.
I'm just looking at all the guys. Why are you shaking your head? Why is everybody?
Camera guy, it's so ridiculous.
Does that strike you as odd? Funny?
Yeah.
Here's what Scripps is saying. They're saying all the words used in the Scripps National Spelling Bee program are pulled from our official dictionary, Merriam-Webster Unabridged Dictionary. During competition, our policy is to accept any correct spelling listed in our official dictionary that isn't marked archaic or obsolete. The alternate spelling of women is therefore included on our study list because it is listed as an alternate spelling for women in Merriam-Webster.
Yeah. So, Kevin, what do you think about this?
Well, here's the problem. You want to do this. I get it. You want to have your, I don't want to say woke. You can't call it woke. I guess it's in a dictionary somewhere. But here's the real problem. You're teaching children how to misspell words.
Yeah, that's the real problem, is that they're teaching children to misspell words. According to Merriam-Webster's website, women, the alternative spelling, the variant spelling of the word woman or women, is used in feminist contexts because they want to omit the word men. Okay. And here's the thing. This is socialistic. This is so Orwellian. They've hijacked the education system. They've hijacked the dictionary, the left, and they literally control the dictionary. And you can't get more Orwellian than that. And this is what socialists do. They indoctrinate children at a young age, and they get them to misspell words, and they deceive these little third graders to believe that this is anything but misogynistic. You're changing the word women. You're taking that word away from our language. You're literally taking the word women away from the English language, and you're misspelling it. And when you start to misspell words, I mean, what's next? Are they just going to take it out of the dictionary? They've got the power to do it. They've got the power to change the spelling and replace the E with a Y. Then they've definitely got the power to just take it out of the dictionary altogether. And, it's so sad because you got these feminazis who believe that replacing the E with a Y actually does something. And there's real problems that women face, like men entering their private spaces, entering in male or female bathrooms under the guise of transgenderism. And they pretend that they're women. Okay, there are real problems women are facing, and this is your solution: replace the E with a Y. And the true scandal here is that these losers are actually taken seriously. Like the Merriam-Webster dictionary, people take that pretty seriously, that dictionary, and that's really unfortunate. America's children are used as political pawns at the expense of the truth. And it's so sad. But hey, at least I hope this served as an ad against public schools, and it's a great ad for homeschooling. Okay, I got to take a quick break, but we're going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. My God, the National Spelling Bee should have laughed them out of the building. Yeah, so that's the thing is like, what the heck? You built this list. So here's what they had said, the National Spelling Bee. They said, in building our study list, we aim to include alternate spellings for any words that have them listed in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The Merriam-Webster dictionary is the final authority and sole source for spelling of all words offered in the competition. So why the hell are you hosting the Scripps National Spelling Bee program? Okay, why are you hosting it and not Merriam-Webster? Okay, if they're the sole, and like that's the thing. Let's defer to the experts, right? Let's defer to the experts. Merriam-Webster. This is something we take very seriously. The dictionary. Why even hold your own spelling bee then? Just call it the Merriam-Webster spelling bee. Okay, like if that's what you're gonna do, if they have the final authority in the soul, and they are the sole source of the spelling of all the words in the competition, then why call it the Scripps National Spelling Bee? Just call it Merriam-Webster Dictionary Spelling Bee. Okay. All right. Now, I got to take a quick break, but we're going to come back. We've covered so much today. I don't think I'm going to get to the story about Ketanji Brown Jackson. Maybe I'll save it for tomorrow. Ketanji Brown Jackson, of course, the Supreme Court Justice. This was kind of hilarious. She made it to Broadway, and she made a debut on Broadway. It was a remake, I guess, of Romeo and Juliet, and it was like a woke remake. And I didn't think that Broadway could get any gayer, but it got gayer with the Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson kind of making a cameo appearance. And she's just not serious. Okay, she's cringy. She out-cringed herself here. Broadway performances are already kind of cringy, but her worst, like her awful legal takes. Okay, she can't define what a woman is. Okay, she's the worst DEI hire in American history, and she out-cringed herself, right? She has awful legal takes. She couldn't define, I'm not a biologist, so I can't define what a woman is. She out-cringed herself by appearing on Broadway. It was a woke Broadway show over the weekend. It's called Anne Juliet. So it's like a remake of Romeo and Juliet, and I'm pretty sure that Romeo is just taken out of it completely. Put a chick in it and make it gay. That's like the way Disney does it, right? They just say, "Oh, let's put a chick in it and put a female in it, and we'll make it gay." So there's like all kinds of female versions of like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some on Disney, and like Disney has done. They like, it's supposed to be a man who stars in it, but then they put like a girl in it, and usually the girl is like a lesbian or part of the LGBTQ community, right? And they just ruin great stories by putting a chick in it, and like for no reason. So that's what they did. It's called Anne Juliet. So I'm pretty sure it's a Broadway show that just removes Romeo completely from Romeo and Juliet, which I don't know how you exactly do without destroying the entire plot of the film, or of the performance here. How do you perform that? But oh boy, she undeservedly, of course, we know, became a Supreme Court justice. Undeservedly got that because of her skin color, according to ABC. After her walk-on role, Jackson participated in a talkback with the audience following the performance. So I don't know exactly what a talkback is. I'd imagine she took like questions from the audience. I don't know exactly what that is. It's Broadway language. I'm not really into Broadway. So the show had not shared details about Jackson's role. Jackson's role, the entertainment publication Deadline reported that the Justice would take on an ensemble spot that was created for her. So she made an appearance, of course, on Broadway, in case you wanted to know. Your Supreme Court Justice. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in on Cities 92.9 Conservative Cat. Now, I do want to take a listen to Ketanji Brown Jackson. Ketanji Brown Jackson, she appeared on Broadway. Now, she was in this Broadway performance. It's called And Juliet. So it's like a remake of Romeo and Juliet, and it's like a feminazi version where they take out Romeo, I believe. So it's a woke remake of Romeo and Juliet on Broadway. I want to play this for you. This is our Supreme Court Justice. I can't get over this. She's a DEI hire. We know that she undeservedly got that spot on the court because of her skin color. I mean, really. Take a listen to this. Here we go.
Female empowerment. Sick. I like it too. I think what I like about it is that I am having a very strongly negative reaction to it. Like I hate it. Which makes me think it must be brilliant. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in.
Okay, so she's on Broadway, and she has insane legal takes. For example, she can't define what a woman is because she's not a biologist, and then she gets out there and does this. And I mean, I can't take this individual seriously. I definitely can't believe that she's a sitting Supreme Court justice. So in her memoir called The Lovely One, which the show cited in its announcement, so I don't know what you call those, the playbills or whatever, the announcement they shared that the justice had shared in that in her application essay to Harvard, where she earned her undergraduate and law degrees, she wrote that it was her fantasy to become the first Black female Supreme Court justice to appear on a Broadway stage. Her role was perfect for her. She did not she didn't, and not only did her character have no clue what a woman was, but neither did she. Okay, so it's called And Juliet. It's a remake. I have no interest really in watching this performance or like learning any more about it. It's really weird. It's, how Disney, they put a chick in it and then they make it gay. Like, how do you do Romeo and Juliet without Romeo? Like, I really don't know how you do that. So she out-cringed herself by performing in this. And, people are kind of comparing it to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg at one point had made an appearance in the theater. I think it was an opera, actually. It's not the same. Ruth Bader Ginsburg could be taken seriously in this role. It was the Washington National Opera. Now, at the time, people were sharing this. They were mourning the loss of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and they wanted to show, and people were sharing this clip out to show her as a character, Duchess of Krakenthorpe, in 2016's The Daughter of the Regiment. So take a listen. This is a big difference between you getting out there and being a feminazi, and here's Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Of the House of Krakenthorpe have open but not empty minds. The best are willing to listen and learn. No surprise then that the most valorous Krakenthorpians have been women.
Okay, so clearly that is so different in comparison to Ketanji Brown Jackson. Like, this I can take seriously, and the theater was taken seriously back then. The opera was taken seriously back then. And unfortunately, we don't take any of it seriously now. It's just a place where they can do feminazi things, and they can make it really, really gay and cringy and woke. And I didn't think that she could out cringe herself, being that she, kind of turned into a national joke, not knowing what a woman was. And she's holds like the highest legal position in this country. But yet she managed to out cringe herself on Broadway by playing in this role. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Love you. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. We'll talk again tomorrow. Bye-bye.